Sunday to everybody. I hope you're having a blessed weekend so far. It's a lot of things been going on this week. A lot of terrible stuff that's happening in Kentucky. Right now, they are experiencing catastrophic flooding in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia right now. They said so far there have been 9 people confirmed dead. The first one was a 73-year-old elderly man who got out of his vehicle that had stalled with rising water. And they said he got out into the water and just washed away. And then they said they found 2 more people in a vehicle dead, and one of them was a 7-year-old child with his mother. And then they said, so far, they said 9 people are reported dead as of the last few minutes that I had checked the news reports. They said 9 people so far have been reported dead, and they expect that number to grow. See, it ain't just. Also, in another town, it's called Rives, Tennessee, a town in Tennessee. They said the levees have broke in this town, and they said it's like a town, small population of under 500. They said like maybe 300 residents or something like that is the total population. And it is like on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. It's right there on the border near Kentucky and Tennessee. It's called Rives, Tennessee. Never heard of it. But it's on the Obion River, or is it Obion River? And they said the levee has failed. That river levee has failed. And they said those people are pretty much trapped in their homes. And so they have to send for first responders and firefighters in Memphis and other cities, to come in and try to help get those people out. Because right now those people are just trapped in their homes. They said there are people in Kentucky without water, without power. And they said that this storm that's over there on that East Coast, they said it's not going to let up for another couple of days. So they said not only are these people getting hammered with catastrophic flooding and rain, they're also going to get hit with snow, and they said tornadoes in the wintertime. Tornadoes. I think they said Mississippi just had a darn tornado, but that ain't on the East Coast. The flooding is in the Appalachia area, in the mountains, in Tennessee and Kentucky and Virginia, in the boonies. And that's where all of this stuff is happening. And they said it's going to go on for another 2 days. 9 people already reported dead. And then in California is going to get is going through catastrophic flooding. They said that there has been mudslides and landslides in California, in that Pacific Palisades, Malibu area where they just had those wildfires. Now they're having rain, and it's causing mudslides and landslides and massive flooding out there. Now Malibu just got rocked with 2 earthquakes. Malibu has been getting tore up. Just got rocked with 2 earthquakes after the wildfires. Now they're experiencing rain and floods, landslides, mudslides. I got the videos up here where it just shows that, just entire areas just washed out. Cars submerged in mud, just thick mud all in people's houses and everything out there in California. So the houses that didn't get burned down in that area, now they're getting submerged in mud because of the mudslides and the landslides. And then they're also getting rocked with earthquakes. The 2 earthquakes was in Malibu last week. Hit Malibu last week. There was also a 5-point. It was a 5-pointer, a 5.0 earthquake in Texas. What part of Texas was that? I think they said earthquake felt in El Paso, about 200 miles outside of El Paso. A 4.9, 5.0 earthquake rocked Texas. So these natural disasters are getting worse by the day. Right now, I think some parts of Italy is experiencing catastrophic flooding. Spain, not Spain, was it Spain? A couple of places, a couple of other countries are experiencing catastrophic flooding right now. But that's what's happening. So, in the next couple of days, we can only just pray for those people out there on the East Coast that's dealing with this weather out there. They said here in the Midwest, where I am in Kansas City, Missouri, that we're supposed to have another winter storm. They said we might get like a foot of snow or whatever, but nothing near about as devastating as what's happening right over there on the East Coast right now. Uh, they said this is supposed to be the last winter blast that we're going to get before the spring, but that's March 21st is way, down the line. Yeah, anything could happen. The way this weather is so chaotic and unpredictable, that's a long ways away. So we'll see. But just pray for them people out there, man, because they are getting hammered on both coasts. I mean, California is getting hammered, and then now they're catching it. They just had Helene and Hurricane Milton over there, but that was in the Carolinas. But now Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky are getting hit with all these natural disasters, and it's not supposed to let up for another 2 days. So, oh goodness. What else? As far as the weather, in the meantime, Donald Trump is down in Daytona. He's at the Daytona 500, riding around doing laps around on the speedway in the Beast. That's what his car is called, the Beast. And he just pulled up. He went to the Super Bowl last weekend or whatever. So now he's at the Daytona 500, and they said he's down there doing laps in the Beast. I'm not making this up. His car, his presidential car, is called the Beast. It says Trump takes laps on Daytona 500 Speedway in the Beast. Yep. That's today. He's down there today with his grandkids. Look like they had his grandkids and his family down there riding in the Beast. You can't make this stuff up. Here in my neck of the woods, this hits home. In my family, we had a tragic incident where my little infant cousin was left in the care of his father, if that's what you want to call him. And it happened on January 28th. He died as a result of ingesting methamphetamines and fentanyl. He's 2 years old. And they said he was left in the care. He was spending the night with his father. And somehow he gets a hold of some meth and some fentanyl and dies. And they are charging him with they need to be charging him with homicide, because I believe he intentionally gave these drugs to this baby. I don't know why, I just believe he gave these drugs to this baby intentionally. Because they said that he went on the run after this happened. And it took him a couple of weeks to find him. But this baby, this is my blood little cousin. And they say he was two. They call him an infant. But this is my first cousin's grandson. So it's my cousin, blood relatives. but they only charging him with endangering a child. Let me see. Kansas City man faces charges after his infant son died from fentanyl and methamphetamine poisoning. Says that he's charged with first degree endangering the welfare of a child, abuse or neglect of a child, and 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance. Court records state that on January 28th, Kansas City police responded to a call regarding the well-being of an infant. A search of the home uncovered a torn plastic baggie containing methamphetamines, and surveillance footage showed Kennedy allegedly disposing of drug-related items that later tested positive for fentanyl. Witnesses told police Kennedy used and sold meth and fentanyl. No bond has been set, so he's being held with no bond. But they said something about when the police was there and questioning him, they said he ran out the back door and ran from the police. Lied, said he was going to the hospital, and said he ran out the back door and was on the run for a couple of weeks, but they caught him, and now he's being held with no bond. But I don't know why. I just believe he intentionally gave this to this baby, because a lot of these sorry, no good, weak men, they do not want the responsibility of, they bring these kids into the world, but they don't want no responsibility of having to fend for, to support these kids or provide for these kids. And you know what the Bible says, that any man that don't take care of his own, is worse than an infidel or an unbeliever. Is worse. The Bible says any man who does not take care of his own family, meaning his children, is worse than an unbeliever. And what that means is that even people who don't even believe in God, a lot of atheist people that don't even believe in God take care of their own kids and provide for their kids. But you got weak, no good, degenerate demons like this. Don't want no responsibility. They fall out with the mama, and they're not with the mother. And so they will do stuff like this. They will intentionally give these kids, I believe he intentionally gave this baby these drugs because he didn't want the baby. He didn't want to be responsible for the baby. That's what I think. I believe they need to upgrade his charges to homicide or murder. Manslaughter. No, he murdered my little cousin. That's what he killed this baby. You cannot convince me that he did not do this on purpose. He gave these drugs to this baby too, because he didn't want the baby. He didn't want to be responsible for the baby. And he just looking at his name is, what's his name? 33-year-old Terry Kennedy. And they got his mugshot. He looks like a dope head. They said he'd sold it and used it. He looks like a straight up dope fiend. But he don't care. Just looking at this individual, he don't look like he is too concerned about going to prison for the rest of his life. Because a lot of those guys, a lot of these deadbeats, it used to be where they would rather go to prison than to be out here and working a job and having to pay child support for the kids that they done made. They would rather do time. They would rather go to prison and not have to take care of their kids. Well, the states around the country caught on to that, and especially here in Missouri, they can't just go to jail and leave the mother to fend for the kids and depend on welfare and food stamps and government assistance. Now, when they go to jail and they got child support obligations out here, that's a condition of their release, is that they have to go and register with child support. They have to be in compliance with child support. That child support tab is running up now. The whole time that they're incarcerated, they are still going to have that child support debt. It stays with them now. So ain't no more going to jail and getting out of your child support obligations. No more of that. So you have a loser demon like this, deadbeat demon like this, he don't mind getting rid of this baby to get out of the obligation of being a father to the baby. And he don't mind going to jail because he don't want to have to be out here to work and take responsibility for his own self. So that's why a lot of them do these things, so they can intentionally go to prison, so that they don't have to provide for themselves or any kids they produce out here. A dog, that's like a dog. It's like you see a lot of these men with all these multiple kids, and just go out and these by these multiple women, the multiple baby mama, baby daddies. That's what an animal does. A dog will go and hump, or an animal, a cat. Dogs and cats, animals, they go and hump every female cat or dog. They will sleep with, if there's a whole block full of female cats or dogs, they'll go and mate with every one of them and just leave. That's what a dog does, and that's what these deadbeat men do. They go and sleep with these females, get all these kids spread out all over the place, think they're going to run from their obligations, and the kids just here to leave the kids to fend for themselves, leave the mothers to fend for the kids, raise the kids as best as she can herself. It's just sad, but I believe he intentionally did this. I don't know why. I'm just getting why did he run? Of course he knew he was in trouble because the baby got a hold of his. I just believe he intentionally did this. But he's going to be dealt with. He's going to answer to God for this. He's going to get dealt with. He's going to answer to God for this. Because I just believe that baby didn't just take them. I believe that baby was giving them drugs. And hopefully they got him help with no bond. Hopefully they upgrade his charges to murder. So I hope my little cousin did not suffer. I hope he just took the pills and just went to sleep and just drifted off. And I hope the baby did not suffer. But this is why in Missouri they just approved abortion. And I guess the reason why they're reasoning for doing it is because a lot of things like this can be prevented. What just happened with my little cousin, a lot of this could be prevented. Because if them passing this abortion law or lifting this abortion ban in Missouri can prevent babies from having to deal with demonic, deadbeat parents like this evil individual, then I guess that is the whole justification for permitting women to take a morning after pill or an abortion pill, or having an abortion, because too many kids are out here being abused and beaten and molested and murdered by their own parents who don't want to be responsible for them. So this sweet little baby, I just hope he didn't suffer. I hope he didn't suffer, and he's just with his little soul is with the Lord, because he's innocent. And this demon will get dealt with. He's got to answer to God. So even if he didn't mean to do it, what are you doing with? Why are you selling fentanyl and meth? You selling drugs. You poisoning other people and pushing drugs in the community. The baby still died as a result of the sins of his father. And this is the reason why in our community, they talking about these migrants and these people that's manufacturing these meth labs and stuff. They are the ones responsible for the fentanyl and the meth flooding not only black communities, but white communities too. Communities of color, poor communities, white communities, even rich people are dying from fentanyl overdoses. And it is a lot of these cartels that are responsible for bringing these drugs over here. Because how did this fool get a hold of something? He ain't got no meth lab. How he get fentanyl and meth? It's people bringing this stuff over here from South America and from China and places like that. They are bringing this stuff over here and flooding this country with dope. And a lot of it is because of these illegal migrants and these cartels that's bringing this stuff over here. And just think that they were about to hold a welcome back rap concert for a drug dealer that's been locked up for 2 decades named Big Meech. These stupid degenerate rappers were about to have a welcome back rap concert for him being released from federal prison back into the community that he destroyed. They holding him a welcome back concert. You can't make this stuff up. They celebrating the dope dealer that destroyed their community. They welcome him back with open arms. Welcome back to the community that you helped destroy. But you rappers, you can't expect too much from. But the concert was canceled, from what I understood. It's been canceled, but still, who would even buy tickets to something like that? A welcome back concert for a drug dealer who spent 2 decades away from his own kids and didn't, what now in his own kid's life, destroyed a lot of families and wasn't even in the life of his own kid because he just spent 20 years in prison. And they welcome him back with a major rap concert. I'm glad it was canceled, though. It's just sad. But it's stuff like this that happens because... Anyway, yes, they just approved the abortion ban here in Missouri. And I see, the reasoning for allowing it because it prevents kids from having to go through stuff like this. Also, there is a situation in Detroit where a woman, 29-year-old single mother with 4 kids, 2 of her kids froze to death because she was living in her van with her children and her own mother and her 2 siblings. 7 people living in a van, a 2002 Town and Country minivan. They were all asleep living in that van, and they would park at the Hollywood Casino in downtown Detroit, because in downtown Detroit there's not a lot of free parking where they can park and be safe and not get their vehicle towed. So they would go to the hotel, the casino parking lot, because it was covered, and that it was security. They have this, they wouldn't be bothered, they would be safe there. So that's where they parked at night, in order to sleep in the van, and they said it happened in January, I believe. They said that she had been homeless 3 months, and said the 2-year-old little girl and the 9-year-old boy froze to death overnight. It was living in the van. It was the 49-year-old grandmother and the 29-year-old mother. Now I'm trying to understand. Okay, 49 and 29. Okay, so yeah, she was 20 when she had the mother. The 49-year-old grandmother had 2 children, ages 17 and 13, 2 teenage children. And then there was the 29-year-old daughter, who was the mother, with the 4 kids, with the grandmother's grandchildren. The 4 children were ages 9, 8, 4, and 2. Well, the youngest baby, the 2-year-old little girl, and the oldest son, the oldest grandchild, froze to death. And this mother says she had been trying to get help for, shelter. And so she called the city months ago, and they didn't help her. They wouldn't help her. And she says she even went to the kid's father, because she has 3 kids by this deadbeat that they interviewed on the news. His name was Darnell Curry. The little boy that died was Darnell Curry Jr. The daddy was 30 years old. Lived in Novi, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. The mother pleaded with him to take the kids because she was homeless. She said he made every excuse in the world, said he lived with a female and they didn't want kids there, and just he wouldn't take his kids. And they interviewed him on the news, and he tried to, make, shed some crocodile tears, probably out of guilt and embarrassment, because he ought to be ashamed of himself, and trying to give some half lame excuse about why he's such a deadbeat, to the point that he wouldn't provide for these kids, and wouldn't help this mother who was going through severe distress, financially. He had shelter, he had a place to stay, and he just failed these kids to the point. He failed in his fatherhood responsibilities to the point that these kids froze to death in the dead of winter because they lived in a van with 5 other family members. There's no excuse he can give of why he did not help take care of these kids. And she has one more by him, one more that did survive, by this deadbeat loser. So Lord knows what else, Lord knows what's going to happen with that family. But of course, everybody's outraged now, and everybody is like, oh, what happened? Who dropped the ball? Even the mayor, made this press conference trying to figure out, why didn't no outreach worker her follow up with this lady and all this other stuff. Man, them people blow people off all the time that's in severe distress, because they don't care. They don't care. I believe she probably did call multiple times. She says she's on waiting lists and everything. They just probably blew her off. And then the mayor had the nerve to say, well, there were beds available, and we don't understand why she didn't, she wasn't in the shelter, because there were beds nearby. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. So now they got a GoFundMe going to help pay for these kids' funeral. And they're probably going to give her help now, because it just makes them look just totally incompetent. They're going to give her all the help in the world now, since she done lost 2 kids. Her kids froze to death because of the failure of this system. They're going to give her all kind of help. Go fund me. Detroit. What was her name? Tatiana. Yeah, this lady lost 2 kids because his deadbeat daddy didn't help her. He wouldn't help her. She tried to plead with the system. These kids was failed by the system, failed by their own father, and the mother and the grandmother. To be honest, they look like they may, have some addiction issues and some mental illnesses. But ain't no telling what life circumstances led them to the point that they are now, because a lot of things can happen. The system is just set up so that the black family will be it's set up to destroy black families. So we don't know what set of circumstances happened, with this family that ended up with these kids tragically dying the way they did. But they started a GoFundMe for the mother, because she's going to have to pay for 2 funerals, in addition to trying to get herself on her feet with her own mother and her siblings, and her other 2 kids, and herself. So it says a GoFundMe for a local mother whose 2 kids died this week after sleeping in an unheated van in a Detroit casino parking lot structure as temperatures dipped below freezing, had generated $40,000 as of Friday afternoon. So the mother's name is Tatiana Williams, and she's 29. They shouldn't put that money in her hands, because this woman just don't look like she may be competent enough to manage that money responsibly. So the funeral for the kids will be next week. For Amila Curry, she was 2, and Darnell Curry Jr. 9. So that's just really sad. So the van either ran out of gas or had a mechanical failure. The reason why it Didn't have it wasn't heated when they were asleep overnight. So she pulled into the parking lot around 1 a.m. on last Monday. Temperatures dipped below freezing that night, and the van ran out of gas or had a mechanical failure, and the babies froze to death. But yeah, okay, they'll get her all the help in the world now in order to not make themselves look so callous and incompetent. But they don't care. They probably blew this woman off multiple times and wasn't trying to help her. But we can help migrants that come over here and break into the country, come over here illegally. We can. I bet you, has she went to a migrant hotel and told them that she was homeless with her family, they would have turned her away and told her they couldn't help her. But has she broken into the country from Mexico or somewhere, they would have gave her free housing, free food stamps, free cell phone, free clothing, and put her up in a 5-star hotel. That's why don't come to me talking about no illegal migrants. Don't come talking to me about help. About what do you think about that? I don't care nothing about the migrants. We got people over here that need help. Like this lady who we got black kids over here who freaking froze to death in the heart of winter because they didn't have a house or a home to lay their heads. And y'all worried about some doggone illegal migrants that's been broke over here into the country, getting put up in 5-star hotels, fed and living for free, and ain't even legal citizens. We got our own citizens over here. Kids freezing to death, and y'all gonna sit up here and talk about and worry about some darn migrants? Please, get out of my face. But anyway, ooh, yeah. God bless this family, Lord. Just send your love down and rain on this family. It's just so sad. Back here in Kansas City, the young man who was shot because he went to the wrong house, out in it's here in Kansas City. He was in the North Kansas City neighborhood, and he went to go pick up his twin brothers. His name is Ralph Yarl. Um, Old racist white man. He went to the wrong house, got shot by old racist 84-year-old white man twice. Shot him in the head, and I think in the hand. Could have killed him. Only by the miracle of God, only by the grace of God, Ralph did not die. And so anyway, this man went on ahead and pled guilty to shooting Ralph. This man he was 84 years old at the time that he shot Ralph Yarl in the head. And so he put this family through 2 years of going to court and, back and forth and things like this. And on the eve of his trial, he go ahead and he pleads out, and pleads guilty. And I'm going to tell y'all the reason why he did this is because he pleaded to a lesser charge. I'm gonna tell y'all why they gave him this plea. He was initially charged with Andrew Daniel Lester, an 85-year-old white man, was charged on April 17, 2023 with armed criminal action and first-degree assault, the equivalent of attempted murder in Missouri. The Clay County District Attorney stated that there was a racial component to the shooting. If convicted, he faced up to 10 years to life in prison. So I'm going to tell y'all what he did. They gave him a plea. They let him plead guilty. They dropped the armed criminal action. And the reason why they dropped the armed criminal action is because if you get convicted of an armed criminal action, then you have to do 3 years flat in the state of Missouri. So they let him plead out. Let me see, April 17th. Let me see, April 29th. Where is it at? They let him plead down. Ralph's family is not happy with this outcome at all. He's 86 now, this old man. And had he got convicted of that armed criminal action just alone, he would have had to do 3 years flat in the state pen. So they made sure in that Clay County, which is very racist. Ralph was in a he lived in the neighborhood, and that is a very racist, segregated part of Kansas City. And when he knocked on this old white man's door, he shot him in his head because all he saw was a black man at his door. And that them people, I'm telling you, there is it's just extremely racist up there. And so they let this man plead down. As part of the plea deal, Lester pleaded guilty to second-degree assault. Lester, who will be sentenced on March 7th, was hunched over as he was wheeled into the courtroom. The charge carries a sentence of up to 7 years in prison compared to first-degree assault, which carries a sentence of 15 to 30 years. They dropped that armed criminal action because in Missouri, if you get convicted of that armed criminal action or you plead guilty to it, that's 3 years flat. They didn't want this man to do no time. They're going to give this old man a suspended sentence or give him some sort of probation to make sure that he doesn't do a day in prison. That's why they let him plead out to this second-degree assault. And the family, Ralph's family, they're not happy with the outcome at all. I posted the interview with the family up here. But this man, they said that old man was unrepentant, unapologetic. He didn't care nothing about what he did to this young man. Ralph's probably going to have problems for the rest of his life because he was shot in the head and the hand. So he's going to have problems for the rest of his life. And the family did sue this old man's homeowner's insurance, but yeah, I knew that they were going to figure out a way that this man does not do a day in prison. And it just makes me wonder how many other black men have he shot before. Or if he hasn't shot anybody, if he hadn't shot a black man before, he's probably been wanting to do that his whole life. But yeah, that family's not happy at all. Somebody, he was acting in self-defense. The boy didn't even have a gun or nothing. It's just, yeah. They don't want no black people in that neighborhood. He probably was just upset and angry that that boy was even in that neighborhood and have the nerve to be on his porch, ringing his doorbell or knocking on his door. Yeah, the hatred in him made him do what he did. And they said he's just been unapologetic the whole time. Yeah, but so I hope that homeowners insurance, I hope they get millions. I think Benjamin Crump is their attorney, so hopefully they get millions from his homeowners insurance. Because Ralph Yarl is probably going to need that for the health problems that he's going to have for the rest of his life, probably. Because he could have killed that boy. They said he's in college now. How old is Ralph now? I think he's like 19, and they said he's in college. So, but that's the reason why they let him plead out to this second-degree assault, because if he got convicted on that armed criminal action, he'd have had to do 3 years flat at least. And they didn't want this demon to do. They didn't want him to do no jail time. But that's Kansas City. That's just how it is here. And another terrible story. There was this transgendered migrant, trans migrant, stalked a 14-year-old boy in New York, followed him into a park bathroom, and sexually assaulted this 14-year-old boy. The boy was 14, transgendered migrant, had a previous rap sheet. He was a criminal, transgendered migrant. It was a biological man living as a woman. His name was Nicole Suarez. He was also wanted in New Jersey and Massachusetts at the time that he committed this crime. They want to call this thing a transgendered woman. It was a man dressed as a woman, a trans migrant. He was wanted by ICE and he's accused of stalking and raping a 14-year-old boy in New York City. This thing is 30 years old that did this to this boy. He's from Colombia. I'll call him a him because it's a he. Was arrested Wednesday after allegedly following the child into the bathroom of a bodega across the street from Thomas Jefferson Park and attacking him. The boy was able to leave the bathroom and flag down witnesses after the attack, resulting in Suarez's arrest the next day. Suarez was already wanted in both New Jersey and Massachusetts at the time of the crime. While ICE had a detainer on the Colombian migrant, the agency's way of requesting that any law enforcement agencies that arrest the suspect hold him to be turned over to federal authorities. The detainer means ICE could quickly deport the individual. They deport him and then they come right back over here. That's the thing. They just like the one that burned the lady alive. Let me turn this off. Just like the migrant that set that lady alive. And speaking of that, the migrant that set the lady alive, that burned the lady alive on the New York subway, he was staying in a shelter. He was in a shelter. But the woman in Detroit couldn't get help for her family. The citizen, the woman in Detroit with the kids that froze to death, who was a legal citizen, she couldn't get no shelter. But this migrant that was in New York that burned this lady alive, he was staying in the shelter at the time he did it. But anyway, I'm just going everywhere. This stuff is, it just really makes you mad. It gets you upset. But this trans migrant violated this 14-year-old boy over here illegally, was wanted in 2 states, and had an ICE detainer on him. All they talking about doing is deporting it. 30-year-old biological man dressed as a woman. They talking about deporting him. All they're going to do is deport him to Colombia, and he's going to come right back over here. They need to ship that thing right down there to where Trump said and Holman said they need to ship that thing to Guantanamo Bay and let him stay down there. Or else, no, don't even take him to else. Ship him to Guantanamo Bay. That's where he needs to be. You won't touch another 14-year-old down there. They put him down there. I guarantee you. Won't touch nobody. Yeah, that's where they need to send him. Send him right to Guantanamo Bay. These are the people like this thing that Trump and Holman are talking about. They want specifically to put down there in Cuba in Guantanamo Bay on that island, so they can't try to come back over here and hurt nobody no more. So let me see what else. We talked about the earthquakes and the weather. There was another case in Minnesota. Well, no, this person was from Minnesota. It was a trans person. This was a biological woman living as a man. 5 people have been arrested for torturing and murdering this individual, this victim. 5 people. This was in Minnesota. This was in Minnesota. The police in Minnesota said that they had never seen a crime this violent in their whole life. This person, this transgendered individual, the victim, went to meet a woman. I guess she met this woman online. And she went to meet this woman. She traveled from, let's see, where does it say? She traveled from Minnesota to meet and hook up with this woman in New York. And she was staying at a hotel. And I'm going to call her a she. She lived as a man, a transgendered man. But it is a biological woman. The victim was a biological woman living as a man. Went to go meet up with this woman. Was staying at this hotel in some parts of upstate New York, I believe. Sam Nordquist is the victim's name. It says police recover body of transgender man allegedly tortured by 5 people for over a month. They said they tortured this victim for over a month. 5 of them. It says New York State Police charged 5 people Friday with murder and the killing of a missing man who authorities...
5 people are charged in the murder of a transgender man who'd been reported missing.
The victim had been missing for over a month, and they said that they tortured this victim and sexually assaulted her with a leg of a table, furniture leg, uh, something with furniture, and just tortured this individual before they killed her, dumped her in a ditch. And they just found her body. They dumped her. They discarded her in a field. It said authorities said the victim died following repeated acts of violence and torture for more than a month by multiple individuals who later discarded her body. They calling it a him, but it's a her body in a field. The victim, Sam Nordquist, a 24-year-old transgender man, biological woman, originally from Minnesota, was reported missing on February 9th. Said she arrived in New York in September and had lost contact with loved ones, was staying at a hotel, was going to hook up with this other woman, met up with 5 demons who tortured, and it says a Major Kevin Sucher, commander of the state police troop that includes the Finger Lakes region, said the facts and circumstances of the case were beyond depraved and by far the worst homicide investigation the officer has ever been a part of. He said, quote unquote, no human being should have to endure what Sam endured, he said during his televised news conference. Police did not share many details of the case, noting it remained under active investigation. Now, these demons that did this to this individual, to this victim, some of them had histories of messing with kids, pedophilia. They were sexual deviants. They looked like it might have been a part of some type of they looked like they were part of some type of cult or satanic, like they were performing some type of satanic ritual or something. I don't know. These people just look demonic. All 5 of them do. They got their pictures on the video clip that I'm gonna post up here, but they just looked wicked. And see, when you meet people online and you go to where they are, you don't know these people. You don't know who you could be. This woman traveled to her death, meeting with this woman, didn't know, met her online. And this is what happens. But yeah, it's sad. It's only 24. They said they arrested. These are the suspects. Precious Arzuaga, 38. This is who she went to go meet. The 38-year-old Precious Arzuaga, 38. This is a 24-year-old transgender going to meet a 38-year-old. Patrick Goodwin was another one of the suspects. He's 30. What's it? Canandaigua, New York. He's 30. Kyle Sage, age 33, of Rochester, New York. Jennifer Quijano, age 30, of Geneva, New York, and Emily Matika, age 19, of Lima, New York. All 5 were charged with second-degree murder after police on Thursday searched a room at the Patty's Lodge Motel in Canandaigua, New York, the last place Norquist was known to be staying. All 5 were being held in police custody pending arraignment. It was unclear whether any had obtained any attorneys. The investigation has so far revealed a deeply disturbing pattern of abuse that ultimately resulted in Norquist's death, said Swift, who called it one of the most horrific crimes she has ever investigated in her 20-year law enforcement career. Them people are demonic. I put the story up there. They kind of went into detail of what they did to this victim. You just never know, man. You go meet these people online and you don't know what type of demon spirits be out here looking to kill, steal, and destroy. But yeah. Okay, what else? Let me see what else. Let me hurry up and get on it through these stories. Trump and Elon Musk ended up terminating, they said like 500 staff members who they work with handling our nuclear weapons. They terminated. They didn't realize. It says Trump officials didn't realize firings included nuclear stockpile staff, people who handle our weapons of mass destruction. They fired these people, and so they had to hurry up and rehire these people. Because imagine if you working with nuclear weapons and they give you a letter or an email telling you that you are fired for no reason, just all of a sudden abruptly and callously and cold-heartedly just terminate your employment, and you work with the nukes. Can you imagine? They better hope none of those employees made out with some grenades or rocket launchers or secrets or anything to sell to foreign countries. That's why they had to hurry up and hire them back, because they didn't realize what they did. Ain't no telling what them people probably were so mad. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them people didn't do something. Didn't just imagine, they probably did, some of them people probably did take some rocket launchers and grenades and stuff, weapons of mass destruction. I wouldn't be surprised at the way they did these people so callously and cold-heartedly, just snatched the rug out from under them, took their livelihood like that, and I'm working with the nukes. Okay, that's why they said they had to hurry up and hire them people back. But anyway, what else? Netanyahu and Hamas, they didn't release all the hostages like Trump told them to. But Netanyahu said that they're going to open the gates of hell if all them hostages are not released. So I think what's happened is Trump then had Israel, Trump had a bunch of bombs shipped to Israel. And I think they are going to use those bombs to get rid of Hamas, and they're going to attack Iran with those bombs. They got some major firepower a couple of weeks ago. I think it was last week. Trump had them ship some major firepower to Israel. They're gonna take Hamas out, and they're gonna destroy. If they don't destroy Iran, they're gonna severely damage their. They're gonna put a hurting on Iran, but they're gonna take out Hamas. Hezbollah and Hamas, they pretty much gonna wipe them out, because they got some serious. They got 2,000-pound bombs. Israel got some weapons of mass destruction to added to their artillery. They already had nukes themselves, but Trump gave them some more bombs. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen with that. Also, there was a stampede, another stampede in India, at a train station at this Hindu religious ceremony with all these millions of Hindus. 18 more people ended up getting crushed to death during the stampede. Yeah, 18 more people. I think the ceremony is over now, but yeah, 18 people ended up getting killed. They got crushed in a stampede at a train station. So yeah, this Hindu ceremony that they had. Remember, I did a story when this festival first started. This Hindu festival started, I think, 2 weeks ago, and it ended up a bunch of people got crushed in the stampede when it started, when it first kicked off. What is this? Hindu Stampede Festival. This is like a Hindu ritual. They said it happens like every 12 years or something, where they said millions and millions of Hindus meet together in India. They said like up to 400 million people, 400 million Hindus get together and bathe into these sacred waters and hold this ritual. It's like a Hindu baptism or something, where they pray into all these demon Hindu gods or whatever. So they said this Mahakumbh, that's what it's called. This is what this ritual is called. 18 people got killed. um, at this festival. This was in January 29th. Okay, of 2 weeks ago. It said like over 40 people were killed. And then this happened this is a 6 week festival. When this festival first kicked off, on the first day, I believe, they said 40 people got stampeded and killed. Dozens of people were killed in a pre-dawn stampede at the Mahakumbh Mela in northern India on Wednesday as tens of millions of Hindus gathered to take a dip in sacred river waters on the most auspicious day of a 6 week festival. Okay. They said they counted, about 40 people in the morgue. And more than that got injured. Okay. Fast forward to fast forward to this weekend. Was it this weekend? 18 more ended up getting killed during this festival. It says at least 18 people died during a stampede at a railway station in India's capital late Saturday. This happened yesterday, when surging crowds scrambled to catch trains to the world's largest religious gathering. They said this is like the world's largest religious gathering, this Hindu ritual. It says the Kumbh Mela attracts tens of millions of Hindu faithful every 12 years to the northern city of Prayagraj, and has a history of crowd-related disasters, including one last month when at least 40 people died in another stampede at the holy confluence of the Ganges, Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati rivers. That's a beast religion. It's a demonic religion. They have, I think Hindus, they pray to hundreds of gods. And every time they hold this festival, people get killed during stampedes because it's a demonic religion. This is supposed to be their version or form of baptism. So yeah, just 2 weeks ago, it's a 6 week festival, and when it first kicked off, over 40 people died, and then just this weekend, 18 more people died. And I don't know if this is the end, and way more, were injured. So this was in New Delhi that this stampede happened. They were waiting for a train or something, and said it just crushed these people in this stampede. They said at least 18 people died this weekend. It says the 6 week Kumbh Mela is the single biggest milestone in the Hindu religious calendar, and officials said around 500 million devotees have already visited the festival since it began last month. More than 400 people died after they were trampled or drowned on a single day of the festival. That was in 1954. So over 400 people died in 1954 on a single day of the festival. This is back in 1954. One of the largest tolls in a crowd-related disaster globally, worldwide. Over 400 people died. They either were trampled or drowned in 1954. Another 36 people were crushed to death in 2013, the last time the full festival was staged in Prayagraj. So every time they hold this ritual, it results in massive death. That should tell you there's nothing holy about it. And I don't think this is over yet. I think this is still going on. This festival is still happening. But anyway, there was another situation in Mali. This is a country in West Africa where 48 people have been killed because they died as a result of, they tried to go into these illegal gold mines that Chinese investors had dug up. See, you have Chinese miners, or mining companies, go into this west. Mali is big. It's like one of the largest gold producers in the world. Mali is. It's a country in West Africa. It's a poor country, and so these first world countries go in and rob these African countries, these third world African countries, of their natural resources. And in Mali, there's this gold mine, and 48 people were killed, um, and several others injured. These women, they were mostly women, and they said that these women were. It says it is the second major accident this year in the French-speaking West African country, which is one of Africa's top three gold producers. It's Mali. Bamako, Mali is the major city. It says a gold mine collapsed in eastern Mali, killing dozens of people and injuring many more, according to Malian television and officials. It says it's the second major accident this year where people have died. This happened on Saturday. This happened this week. It happened this weekend. It says death toll. I read somewhere it was 48, and this says 42. Somewhere else said it was 48. And it said it was a landslide at a site run by Chinese nationals. See, these Chinese go into these African countries, and they start mining, going into these countries, and they start going into these mines and trying to get gold out of these countries, loot the gold out of these countries. And that's what they were doing in Mali. And so these women that live in Mali, they went into this mine that these Chinese people had dug up, and they abandoned it. Once the Chinese investors and the miners go in there and they get whatever gold that they're going to get, then they leave. And so the natives, these are probably women, natives, that went back down into the mine trying to find gold scraps, whatever the Chinese didn't get. These women went down into that mine trying to find gold, in order to sell, in order to feed their families, because a lot of these women live in poverty. And so they said mostly women, said like 48 of them ended up dying. They said one woman even had a baby on her back, and both of them were killed going into that mine trying to find gold scraps. It says the second time less than a month that such an accident has occurred in Mali. On January 29th, a landslide killed several gold miners, mostly women, in the Koulikoro region in the south of the country. In January last year, an unregulated gold mine collapsed near the capital, Bamako, killing more than 70 people. In recent years, there have been concerns that profits from unregulated mining in northern Mali could benefit extremists active in parts of the country. See, what it is that it said gold is by far Mali's most important export, comprising more than 80% of total exports in 2021. It says more than 2 million people, or more than 10% of Mali's population, depend on the mining sector for income. Artisanal gold mining is estimated to produce around 30 tons of gold a year and represents 6% of Mali's annual gold production. See, and what happens is you got these illegal mining groups, gangs that go in, because you're supposed to get licenses and permits to go and get a mining crew or a mining company to go into those mines and start getting those gold, getting those resources. But these people go into those mines illegally, these Chinese companies, and they loot the gold out of the mines. And It was some miners got there. I don't know if they're still trapped in another country in Africa. They were illegally mining down into the mines, and they ended up getting trapped down in there. And I don't know if they got those people. They said it was hundreds of them just trapped down in that mine, and they're trying to get them out because they're gonna mess around and die. But this was in another country. I don't think it was in Mali, but yeah, that's what they do. They go down there and try to dig those precious minerals, those that gold and stuff out of those mines, and they ended up losing their life trying to get buried treasure. You know, so Mali is like a Islamic. It's a mainly Muslim country. Um, they said, yeah, this is the New York Times article. Gold mine collapse in Mali kills at least 43. The accident took place in an open pit area. People had gone into search of gold. Come on. Informal mining is a common and dangerous practice in much of West Africa. See, they not supposed to be down in there, and they risk their lives trying to go down in there to get that gold. At least 43 people, mostly women, were killed. Yep. And some type of the accident took place near the town of Kaniba in Mali's gold-rich Cays region. Tule Kamara, the Secretary General of the National Union of Gold Counters and Refineries, told Reuters. The woman had climbed down into an open pit areas left by industrial miners to look for scraps of gold when the earth collapsed around them and swallowed them up. A mines ministry representative confirmed the accident had taken place between the towns of Kaniba and Dabia, but declined to give further details. A ministry team at the scene had not yet shared their report. Informal mining, also known as artisanal mining, is a common activity across much of West Africa and has become more lucrative in recent years because of a growing demand of metals, precious metals, and rising prices. Deadly accidents are frequent as such miners often use unregulated methods and work in unsafe conditions. 13 artisanal miners, including women and 3 children, died in southwest Mali in late January after a tunnel in which they were digging for gold flooded. And so this incident with the 43 people, according to this article, it says 43, but another article said 48 people just died yesterday trying to get gold, in order to sell, because that country is a poor third world country, but it has a lot of gold, and these Chinese and these foreign mining companies go in and loot this country of their resources, and so then these people go in and try to get what little gold that's left in those mines after these Chinese companies and dug these mines up. And when they go down in these mines, sometimes it rains, and then when it rains, they ended up getting drowned and killed in the mudslides and the landslides going down there trying to find gold. So these women were gold diggers, and they lost their life. It said don't store up treasure. The Bible said don't store up treasure. They don't believe in, they Muslims, so they don't believe in the Bible. It said you got to store up, your treasures are in heaven. Says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 21. Your treasures are in heaven. But that's that's a Muslim country, Mali is. It says 90% are Sunni Muslims, so, and only 5% are Christian. And those 5%, they said most of them are Roman Catholics, and some of them are Protestants, so they don't believe in the Bible over there. So, it's sad, man. It's really sad. And then, like I said, over there in India, But those Hindus, all those people losing their lives, praying to them false demon gods, them at that Hindu ritual, and it's not even over yet. Might be some more lose their life. And speaking of false prophets, Pope Francis is in the hospital. They said he's suffering from bronchitis. He was admitted to the hospital. Remember, I did a report a couple of weeks, maybe last week, that he had been sick with a bad cold. And so now they said he's been admitted into the hospital with bronchitis. Now, this is an old pope, and I think he only has one lung. And so now he's in the hospital. He might be out. He might be out now. Let's see. But he might be out. But he's like 88, something like that. Pope Francis is, yeah, he's old. Pope Francis. He's just, says he's showing some improvement amid hospitalization. He's in fair condition, says the Vatican. The doctors order absolute rest for Pope Francis due to respiratory infection. So he's been in the hospital 3 days. Unable to deliver the Sunday prayer. So he was unable to deliver the Sunday prayer today. It says that, he's had health issues that include lung infections and pleurisy. So, yeah, he's 88. They said he's in stable condition, and he has a respiratory tract infection and bronchitis. So, yeah, that's what's going on with this Pope. I think that's about it. Oh, and there's a measles outbreak. They said measles is there's a measles outbreak down in Texas. And I told y'all, I believe what that is that you got a bunch of illegals coming over here that are not vaccinated, and they are probably, they probably have all types of, communicable diseases that they're bringing over here because they're not vaccinated, like, a lot of people in America are. It says in rural West Texas, a measles outbreak grows with no end in sight. I guarantee you that's what that is you got a bunch of human smuggling going on down there. And these people are bringing those diseases over here because they are not vaccinated. This country has not had no measles outbreak in, let's see, what's the most recent article? So now there are cases that are appearing in New Mexico. There's cases in Texas. And said now they're spreading to New Mexico. That's because they're down there at that border, and those people are coming over here, and they're not vaccinated. I bet you that's what that is. Additional measles cases are likely to occur as an outbreak of the virus grows, the Texas Department of Health, State Health Services said in its latest update. So far, 48 cases have been reported in West Texas, with all of those occurring in people who were not vaccinated against the virus or whose vaccination status was unknown, because a lot of them are probably undocumented and illegal. Of those infected in the last 3 weeks, 13 people have been hospitalized. Due to the highly contagious nature of this disease, additional cases are likely to occur in Gaines County and the surrounding communities. They said it started in Texas and now it is spreading to New Mexico. That's probably what it is. They bringing that stuff over here. All of them, all down in there, all in Cuba, South America, Mexico, all of them that's coming over here. They are bringing this stuff because their countries probably don't, they're not vaccinated. And that's not being racist or prejudiced or anything like that. That's just the honest to God truth. I bet you that's what's going on, is that they are bringing that stuff over here. So, it says West Texas County is dealing with a measles outbreak. Experts are reminding Americans outbreaks like these can be avoided with safe, effective, and available vaccines. Health officials confirmed Tuesday that 24 people have been identified with measles in Gaines County, Texas. Yeah, and they said some of these people are being hospitalized. They are bringing that stuff over here, y'all. I'm telling you, because they're not vaccinated. They're border states. So, as long as you're vaccinated, you're okay. But I still worry about like elderly people and people with compromised immune systems, that may be getting cancer treatment and stuff like that, that could spread to them. But most Americans are vaccinated, you know, they have measles shots, to prevent from getting measles. But if you are an illegal and you're not vaccinated, and you got illegals coming over here by the hundreds every day, these type of things are going to happen. They're going to continue to happen. And they said that it is expected to grow. So in time, that's what the Bible says. There's going to be pestilences. They're bringing measles back now. This country hasn't had a measles outbreak in so long. End times. So I said, if you are not saved, you better get yourself baptized, blood washed, and born again in the name of Jesus Christ, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, before he comes back here. Because this world is getting worse. And all of these things are happening. All these end time events are happening because the Bible tells us to keep watch, stay, aware, and vigilant, and know what's going on around us, because Jesus told us that all these things are going to be happening during the end times. So you ain't been saved, you ain't got yourself saved, I strongly encourage you to stop putting it off, and please do so. And if you got unsaved loved ones, please pray and ask the Lord to put it in their hearts to get saved, because this world is about to get worse. And none of us want to be around when this tribulation happens, this upcoming tribulation that Jesus has warned us about, that the Bible has prophesied, and prophecies are being fulfilled every day as we speak at a more rapid pace now. That's the thing. We just have to make sure, we have to stay prayed up and ask the Lord to save us and our loved ones, so that we don't have to suffer behind this tribulation, behind this wrath of God that's going to happen, and the whole world is going to suffer from it. So we don't want to be left behind here when it happens, because I'm telling you, the time is getting near, and there's nothing more. I don't know what further can happen. I guess it's just going to take some people for Jesus to for the rapture to happen, before they be convinced that everything that Jesus warned us about is coming to pass. So, like I said, if you ain't been saved, if you ain't been baptized, blood washed, and born again, please stop putting it off. Don't keep procrastinating, and do so. And also, if you got unsaved loved ones, please pray and ask the Lord that he put it in their hearts to get baptized, blood washed, and born again before it's too late. Because as days go by and these things keep happening, oh yeah, another plane crash happened. I forgot about that. Another plane crash. Matter of fact, I haven't even went through all these stories. Another plane crash in Flagler County plane crashed. It was a private Cessna airplane crashed yesterday. There's only one person on board, and it was the pilot. And he was killed. But this happened yesterday. Another one. Jesus said, pray that your flight is not in the winter. We have experienced multiple plane crashes in this world, throughout this world, that resulted in death. Massive death. Now, there's just one person on this plane. It was a private Cessna. And they said there's no black box because an aircraft that small, private Cessna doesn't have a black box. But this is yet another plane that has crashed and fell out the sky and killed somebody. But this plane, they said that this plane was on its way to a skydiving training center. A place where people parachute and jump out of airplanes for recreation, for an adrenaline rush, playing with their lives. Skydiving. He was flying to a skydiving training center. Unnecessary loss of life that could have been avoided. There was another case too down in Atlanta of a couple in Atlanta. They were two educators. Went out in a little bitty boat in what is it? Some parts of Georgia. Little bitty boat. They were celebrating they were engaged. There were a couple engaged. And the man's name was Gary Jones. He was a high school coach. And his fiance, Jocelyn Wilson, she was a math professor at Spelman College. They went out for the weekend to celebrate his 50th birthday. Went on this little bitty boat out in Lake Oconee. And winded up, something happened and that boat capsized or something. They were out there celebrating his birthday. They said they found like some birthday cake and stuff on the bus and on the boat. They were not wearing, they had life jackets, but they weren't wearing their life jackets. Something happened. That boat capsized or something happened with the boat. They said something happened. It was a malfunction. And it ended up, they both, they found the woman, Miss Wilson's body. They recovered her body. But they have not found Mr. Jones's body yet. He's still missing. They said they only found his shoes. And they said it's such a large body of water that, it's going to take, they got cadaver dogs and everything out there looking for his body. Looking for his, they said it's pretty much a recovery effort now because they believe he's dead. They found his shoes. Then they got the woman out. Found her body. So they got cadaver dogs on Friday. So this happened on Friday. It happened this weekend. As the search expands for Gary Jones, nearly a week. Oh, this happened last week. Okay, after they're continuing the search this weekend. After he and his fiance are believed to have fallen overboard. Because they said the boat was little and they were in a large body of water. Authorities are ramping up efforts to locate a missing Atlanta man who vanished. So they don't know where he is, and they just hoping that somehow, some way, his body washes up and turns up. All because you want to go out in a small little boat and celebrate your birthday, your 50th birthday. That's the pride of life. You testing your fate and going out there. And they had life jackets and didn't even have the life jackets on. That probably would have saved them if they would have been wearing their life jackets. But it's so sad. Just an unnecessary loss of life when people gamble with their lives like this and you end up losing your life. And now it's going to take the search and rescue team and other people putting their lives in jeopardy to go and recover your body. They had a small boat from Fishtail Marina at Eatonton. They were staying at a hotel and just going, celebrating his birthday for the weekend, and decided to rent this little small boat. He said the couple went about 7 miles in a small boat. Seals described it as nearly a 12-foot John boat, adding that one typically wouldn't see in the middle of the channel in Lake Oconee. He did say in his interview, he said a boat that small you normally don't see out in the middle of that huge lake. It says Seals said on Saturday evening some boaters who were heading home first spotted an empty vessel idling in circles. So the boat was going in circles in the middle of the lake's river channel near the Green Putnam County line. And they saw them, and then they saw the boat just empty. I guess they had already fell in the water or whatever, and there's some other boaters that found it. And yeah, they found her, but now they're looking for him. His body is still missing. It says some civilians found her body in the lake about a quarter to a half mile from where the boat was found. And now they still got search teams out looking for his body. They in that little bitty boat they probably didn't have no experience messing with that boat. First of all, you don't just be out in the middle of a lake, a large body of water, in that little bitty rinky-dink boat they was in, and they were not wearing their life jackets. So they were just pretty much, they gambled with their lives and lost, pretty much, trying to go out there and be romantic, and you know how people do, be trying to flex on the internet and social media and stuff, and end up losing your life. It's just a total waste. And they said these people were so beloved and respected in their professions, and their students and stuff loved them, and they're really traumatized, by this accident that could have been avoided. It could have been prevented. Go to the Olive Garden or somewhere to celebrate your birthday. Go somewhere safe where you ain't got to be putting yourself in jeopardy out there in the middle of a large body of water in a little bitty boat, and you don't get drowned. Speaking of another situation, another person kayaking. This was in Chile, way across the world in Chile. This man gets swallowed by a sperm whale, or was it a humpback whale? He's kayaking. They said he was in Chile. They show him on video getting swallowed by a whale. The whale ended up spitting him out. He was lucky enough that the whale spit him out. He was on film. They showed him on film in the water, with a yellow boat, yellow kayak, and the whale swallowed him. Just like Jonah in the Bible. That's a lot of people who always talk about, Jonah didn't get swallowed by no whale. Yes, Jonah was swallowed by a whale. And he stayed in the belly of the whale for 3 days in the Bible. And so this guy, it's just a father-son duo kayaking off the coast of Chile, has made waves after sharing a video of what appears to show a humpback whale briefly scooping one of them into its mouth. He was swallowed by a humpback whale, 24-year-old. Adrian Simancas was kayaking in the Strait of Magellan in southern Chile on Saturday when the whale suddenly surfaced and engulfed him, according to the Associated Press. I thought it had already eaten and swallowed me, the 24-year-old later told the AP. At first I thought I had died. It was, of course, a lot of terror because I thought, no, there was nothing I could do. Duh, yeah, you're in the belly of a whale. His father, Dale, happened to be filming at the time and caught the whole incident on camera from a safe distance. He told CNN in Espanol he started recording when he saw pretty waves that seemed exciting. That whale was making those waves, swimming towards your son. Okay, but that turned out to be much more beneath the surface. The younger Simancas told CNN that he felt a strong force hit him from behind, lifting him up. When I turned around, I felt a slimy texture on my face, Simancas said. I could see colors like dark blue and white approaching me from behind, closing around me and pulling me under. That's what the whales do though. When they when they attack, they drag you down and they try to smother you, to drown you. That's what they do when they attack you. So he probably intimidated that whale or scared this whale. Or that whale probably had babies nearby and he was protecting it or something. But anyway, Dell's video posted by the AP shows the whale leaping up, then disappearing underwater with Samachus and his yellow inflatable kayak. After a few seconds, both the kayak and its life vest clad passenger bobbed back to the surface. But Samachus says his relief was quickly overtaken by fear that something would happen to his dad or that he would get hypothermia from being in the water. Samachus managed to grab onto the boat and swim it over to his dad, who paddled them to safety. As he reflected on his experience, he guessed the whale didn't mean him any harm. When I got out, I understood it, of course. It was probably out of curiosity that the whale had approached me, or maybe to communicate something. No, that whale, you probably startled that whale. You ain't got no business in there with that whale. Whale experts have another theory. So you talking about he think the whale was curious about him, or wanted to communicate something to him. No, that whale was trying to kill you. So experts say, two researchers told NPR that the most likely explanation is that Samachus happened to be in the way of a feeding whale, one that was hungry for krill and small fish, not a human. My guess is that the whale was just as surprised as the kayaker, Dr. Juke Robbins, director of the Humpback Whale Studies program at the Center for Coastal Studies in Massachusetts, wrote in an email. Humpback whales feed right quickly, whatever. He had no business being in there with that whale. And that whale was in his own habitat out there in that water, and he had no business being out there kayaking. He better be glad a shark didn't eat him. But he is almost whale food right here. But whales don't normally eat human beings, so it said humpback whales feed by quickly lunging through a school of fish with their mouths wide open, then straining the water out through their baleen or whatever they call it, the thing in the top, that hole in their head. The fringe plates they have inside their mouths. Oh, okay, instead of the teeth. Oh, is that what a baleen is? Okay. If something or someone else mistakenly enters their path, they can't be unintentionally and just momentarily in. They can be unintentionally and just momentarily engulfed. So they think that this was unintentional, that the whale didn't mean to swallow him. He had no business being in there. I'm sure it closes its eyes so it doesn't get damaged by anything. And I think this is one of those 1 in a million situations where the fellow seemed to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Yes, you're in the water where whales swim. Wrong place, wrong time, all the time. You have no business being in there. Reports of such incidents are rare but not unheard of. In 2021, a Massachusetts lobster diver said a humpback whale had scooped him up and spit him out. You have no business being. But unlike the Old Testament's Jonah, these men didn't spend 3 days and nights in the belly of the whale. They didn't even reach it, nor could they have. Whales can't swallow humans. Experts say it's just not possible for a whale to swallow something as large as a person. While their mouths are massive, as wide as 10 feet, their throats are much smaller, roughly the size of a human fist. That's a lie. That Jonah was in the belly of the whale, and the whale threw him up. Kerr says humpback whales don't even want to try, especially considering doing so could lead to a potentially life-threatening jaw injury. They have no interest in eating us, hurting us, he adds. It's not their benefit. See, they think they know everything. Jonah was in the belly of the whale, and that whale spit him up. Jonah was more than likely, they said, swallowed by a sperm whale. And he was in the belly of that whale for 3 days. And that whale vomited him back up. Luckily. But that's the thing when you plan with your life like that, being in places that you have no business being. This man on the airplane lost his life going to the skydiving training center to get some more people to jump out of a plane just for recreation. These people going out on the little small boat in the middle of the water just to celebrate a birthday ended up losing their lives. And this clown almost gets eaten by a whale because he's out there kayaking in whale territory, and almost gets eaten alive by the whale, him and his boat. And I bet you he'd go right back out there. He probably going right back out there. Almost lost his life and probably gonna go right back out there. But anyway, y'all have a blessed weekend. Don't do anything to be safe out there, y'all. Okay, this video has gone on a long time. I'm tired. But all right, y'all, be blessed, and I will probably have to make this a 2-part video because I also got the news clips I got to put up on YouTube. So be blessed, y'all, and I will talk to you next time. Peace.
Last night, I got a call from Secretary Noem, and she offered to help, and we've already seen that help today. And the president signed off on our request as quickly as we have ever seen a president sign off on our request. So thank you to President Trump for his assistance. Now, federal resources are available for impacted areas, helping us to better respond and support affected Kentuckians. Where we are right now is in the emergency response phase. This is the search and rescue phase. And I am very proud of all the Kentuckians that are out there responding, putting their lives on the line to help others. As we are here 24 hours into this natural disaster, we've already seen over 1,000 rescues. That means there's 1,000+ Kentuckians that are safe, primarily because of the swift water boat teams, as well as so many other responders that are out there. Unfortunately, this disaster is taking a toll in terms of human life. Even with the incredible response that we've seen, we can confirm that we've lost at least 8 Kentuckians due to this weather event. They include an adult male in Hart County that was related to a motor vehicle accident, an adult male in Pike County that is floodwater related, an adult female in Hart County, also floodwater related, and with her a child in Hart County, also floodwater related. Another adult male in Pike County, an adult female in Washington County, an adult male in Clay County. Those were all floodwater related. And then another fatality related to a motor vehicle accident in Nelson County. We believe this number is going to grow. We hope it doesn't grow quickly or grow much larger, but one way that you can help us out to ensure we have as few fatalities as possible is don't get on the roadways. Now, give time for the water to go down. So many of these fatalities were due to attempts to drive through water and through moving water. So folks, stay off the roads right now and stay alive. We need your help. Today, we just got another 1/2 to 1 inch of precipitation, depending on where in the state you were. This was on top of all of the original projections. That was a mix of rain and snow. We may see some additional light and scattered snow across the Commonwealth today. There's another small system moving towards us, but shouldn't be as significant as what we have already seen or like yesterday. More concerning are wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour, especially for central and eastern Kentucky. Think about how wet the ground is. These gusts mean that we could have trees come down and limbs come down, and we're seeing that in our power numbers. We expect isolated tree damage, uproots, and power outages because of the wind. And it's going to get even more complicated. I'll talk at the end about how Tuesday night into Wednesday night, we're going to have another round of snow that is going to dump at least 1 inch and maybe up to 6 to 8 inches on parts of Kentucky. That will cause significant disruption and closures, especially depending on where we are in dealing with this flood at that point. This emergency phase we're in is going to last at least a couple more days. That's the type of event we're dealing with, and we're going to be actively dealing with this flood for probably the next week in different parts of at least getting things cleaned up. When we look at our operational teams, local Swiftwater teams were pre-positioned throughout the state. They started rescues immediately, and they are continuing it. We now have a USART team that is here in the EOC with us, and it has been a great addition. 19 active state Swiftwater teams are currently in operation. Many of them are in eastern Kentucky, but they've made rescues in multiple counties. They have worked throughout the night. They are exhausted, but they continue to go out and make rescue after rescue after rescue. We also have federal USAR teams from Indiana, Ohio, and Tennessee that are either operating or they're on their way. So thank you to those jurisdictions for lending a hand in our time of need. Power outages right now, 39,315. That's as of this second. That's actually gone down a little bit. We were over 40,000 earlier in the day. We are seeing our water outages go up. That's normal. And with this riverbank flooding, that's going to create a lot of pressure on these systems. It's going to cause a lot of pipe and line bursts. So we're going to have some significant water damage, just like we did in 22 and the flood in 21. Right now, 9,800 service connections are without water across Kentucky. 26,000 service connections are under a boil water advisory. 2 wastewater systems are not operational. One of those is still underwater, and we're going to have to wait until that recedes to get that back up and going. 21 wastewater systems are under limited operation. 9 wastewater plants are experiencing bypasses. 6 systems are experiencing discharge from portions of their collection systems. So if you look at that, you look at the number of people we've already lost and the damage, this is one of the most serious weather events we've dealt with in at least a decade. We've certainly had our share, and this is another significant one. We want to make sure that we remind people of when to call 911. Our 911 lines have been flooded because there have been real emergencies, but we need them open for real emergencies. So only call 911 if you have an emergency or life-threatening situation. If you do, you make sure you call it. And we've had a bunch of amazing telecommunicators, both from KSP and in our locations.
I'm joined now by the President of the United States. Mr. President, 5 years ago, we were standing in this very spot. What brings you back to the great American race?
I think it's fantastic. It's great for the country. Our country is doing well again, and we have spirit all over the world. There's spirit again. We brought it back, and it's been less than 4 weeks. So you'll see what we do in a little period of time. It's going to only get better, but this is very exciting.
You brought your granddaughter. I know some of your other family members are here. You get to take a ride around in the Beast. What is that like?
I'll let you know in about 2 minutes, because they're going to be going quite quickly, I understand.
You just got to meet some of the drivers. Are you going to get on the radio again and talk to them before the start of this?
And I say they have a lot of courage doing this. It's I see it, and I've been here, and they have a lot of guts, as they would say.
Mr. President, enjoy your time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Well, the presidential motorcade begins to roll out. They will do 2 laps. Then the fleet of dignitaries in the Chevy pace cars, and then our 41-car field, largest Daytona 500 starting field in several years. An addition of a provisional spot reserved.
Showed up at the race and was able to attend the Daytona 500. It just took things to another level. Everybody from the sponsorship side of things is already here, but when that President of the United States is leading you around on the pace laps, you know this means something.
That heavily armored limousine weighs approximately 22,000 pounds. No official figures are given. And its top speed is a well-kept secret.
Well, they're going to need it. They're going to need all they can get. If he gets up on the hot banks, 31 degrees at Daytona, you heard him. The man said himself, they tell me it's going to be fast, so I better get in, buckle up.
Now, in a regular street car, you need to drive 65 miles an hour or more just to stay up on the banking. Otherwise, its steepness will kind of spit you down and out.
Honestly, when I give rides around Daytona, places like here in Talladega, my favorite thing.
for Pit Road. They will not be stopping for tires and fuel.
No fuel.
And a wave from Donald Trump, President of the United States, to send the field on its way.
In Kansas City, Missouri, a man is charged with his son's death. Jackson County prosecutors say the infant was found dead on January 28th at a home on Quincy Avenue. An autopsy found meth and fentanyl in the baby's system. Terry Kennedy is now charged with child endangerment and drug possession.
This morning, Missouri healthcare providers will now be able to offer abortion care. A judge blocked a statewide licensing requirement which prevented medical facilities from carrying out abortions. Missouri voters passed Amendment 3 in November, legalizing abortion. Planned Parenthood Great Plains and Planned Parenthood Great Rivers say they're ready to begin offering them next week.
Right now, we're going to turn to our other big story of the night. A father speaking to us tonight after learning 2 of his kids died from exposure to the cold in a casino parking lot.
Yesterday, 7 News Detroit reporter Darren Cunningham spoke to the mother of those 2 kids about the tragic situation.
Yesterday, I woke them up to wake them up from school. My son wasn't moving. And I kept saying, Freddie, please get up. Please.
Well, tonight, Darren is getting the father's side of this story, hearing about the moment he learned 2 of his children had passed away.
Darnell Curry Sr. wiped away tears while talking with me about his children, Darnell Jr. and Amelia, and the distressing phone call he says he took from their mother, Tatiana Williams, on Monday.
I went to the gym. As soon as I got on the treadmill, she called saying, can I make it to the hospital right now? They gone. I was hoping it was a sick joke, but it wasn't.
According to Detroit police, 9-year-old Darnell Jr. and 2-year-old Amelia died while sleeping in a vehicle at the Hollywood Casino at Greektown parking garage. Investigators say the cause appears to be hypothermia, a tragedy stemming from homelessness.
I tried. I asked for help. I asked everybody, even people out of state. But I tried. I tried to keep hotels. I tried to pay people to stay there. It wasn't working for me. You know, people just didn't like too many kids at their house.
I spoke with the children's mother Tuesday evening. She told me she's been living in her vehicle for 3 months, along with her 4 kids, her mother, and 2 teenage siblings. She says she reached out to Curry, who's the father of 3 of her children.
I asked him, I said, can you get your kids for me? I said, I need help. You know I'm homeless. I done kept a room this long. I couldn't keep it no more.
They were homeless. Had Tatiana ever reached out asking to...
No, she did not. All she said was, can I get them? Can I get them just to get them? And can I get them because y'all homeless? That's 2 different things.
She said she had been homeless for 3 months.
See, I saw it. That's what I saw, about 3 months. But she ain't never said nothing to me. Nothing. So all them other sob stories, they can cut all that. No, she did not.
Curry, who lives in Novi, says Williams never specified why she wanted to drop their kids off to him.
She just asked, can I get them for a couple of days? But I told her I'm working and all that, and I'm out here. We're not close to each other, so I couldn't. But she knows all my family is right around the corner from her.
Did she reach out to any of your family?
No, she did not. And she knows she could have, like we always used to do.
He says the last time he held his children was a month or 2 ago, and that they typically FaceTime, moments he will miss.
And there's a, police investigation into this. What is it you would like to see come of this? Obviously, nothing's going to bring back your 9-year-old and your 2-year-old.
It doesn't even matter to me. Can't get them back, so it's whatever.
Darren Cunningham, 7 News Detroit.
No, you cannot get them back. Our heart aches for this family. I mean, there's so many people reaching out, trying to help. And I would just say, to anybody in our community, if your children are cold and go inside somewhere, beg for help if you can, so nothing like this ever happens again.
And as I learned today, there are shelters. In those kind of situations, even if it's not ideal, shelters are your best policy at that moment.
Shelters, there are churches, there are people who will take you in. And I know she said she asked for help, so we are not blaming the mother because this is absolute heartache. But I'm speaking to anybody else out there. If you're in this situation, please go beg for help. Go knock on a church door. They will let you in. before they let you stay out in the cold and your children could possibly die. That won't happen. Please knock on a door and ask for help.
Yeah, please do. All right.
New details tonight about the 2 children who died in their mother's van early Monday morning. We're learning that the mother who was living in that vehicle with the grandmother and 5 children had reached out to the city of Detroit for help. CBS News Detroit's Walter Murphy is in Greektown with the latest on this tragedy.
We learned that mother reached out to the city 3 times and she never got the help that she needed that could have potentially saved her children's lives.
I am told from the housing department that we do know that this family reached out to our homeless response team on November 25th.
Just 1 day after a 9-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl died from suspected hypothermia while living inside of a minivan with their mom, grandmother, and 3 other children, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan questioned the effectiveness of the city's homeless response team after it was discovered that the mother had called the department 3 times over the last year, most recently in November, as the city braced for the first cold snap of the season.
I will conduct a review of the service delivery and coordination within the next 14 days. Also within the next 14 days, I'll be reviewing a history of the family as it relates to their calls for service.
Director of the Housing Department, Julie Schneider, as well as Deputy Mayor Malia Howard, have been tasked by Mayor Duggan to find out why the homeless response team didn't follow up with the family. And he's giving them 2 weeks to come up with a plan of action to make sure tragedies like this never happen again.
My complete attention will be on nothing but this. Moving forward, no family, no mother should ever have to endure such hardship and heartbreak.
The heartbreaking part of this is that there were family shelter beds available just a few miles away from where the family pulled in to their Greektown structure.
The chaplain at New McFall Brothers Funeral Home tells our newsroom that they're going to be covering the entire cost for both of those children's funerals, but a date has not been set yet. Reporting in Greektown, I'm Walter Murphy, CBS News, Detroit.
A 30-year-old transgender migrant named Nicole Suarez has been arrested in New York City for allegedly stalking and raping a 14-year-old boy in a park bathroom. The incident took place at Thomas Jefferson Park in East Harlem on a Tuesday afternoon. According to police reports, Suarez followed the boy into the bathroom, where the assault occurred. After the boy managed to escape, he sought help from nearby witnesses, who promptly called the police. Suarez was taken into custody the following day and is facing serious charges, including first-degree rape and stalking. Originally from Colombia, she was already wanted by immigration authorities and had a detainer from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. Reports indicate that Suarez also has outstanding charges in New Jersey and Massachusetts, although details about those charges have not been disclosed yet. The case has sparked discussions about New York City's sanctuary laws, which some believe may have contributed to the situation. A source mentioned that if it weren't for these laws, ICE could have deported Suarez before the incident occurred. The bail for Suarez was initially set at $500,000, but a judge later reduced it to $100,000 bail or a $250,000 bond. She is currently being held at Rikers Island and is scheduled to appear in court soon. Local residents have expressed their outrage and concern for the young victim. A deli owner nearby described the incident as disgusting and shared his feelings of anger and fear for the safety of children in the area. Another local mother, Lindsay Gonzalez, emphasized the lasting trauma the boy will likely face and called for Suarez's deportation. The incident has also drawn attention from political figures, including former Trump administration border czar Tom Homan and New York City Mayor Eric Adams. They recently announced a new initiative aimed at cracking down on illegal immigration in the city. During a recent appearance on a news program, they discussed plans to reestablish an ICE office at Rikers Island, which would allow ICE agents to work closely with local law enforcement to identify and apprehend dangerous criminals. Mayor Adams expressed his commitment to addressing the city's immigration issues and highlighted the importance of collaborating with federal authorities to ensure public safety. Homan praised the mayor's efforts, stating that having ICE agents back at Rikers Island would significantly enhance their ability to gather intelligence and take action against individuals who pose a threat to the community.
From your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 Wham News at 5.
A transgender man whom police say was tortured and killed. His body found in a field. 5 suspects now charged with murder.
This is by far the worst homicide investigation that our office has ever been a part of.
Plus, bracing for another bout with winter, snow, and a deep freeze on the way.
And a life sentence for the man convicted in the brutal death of a taxi driver in Rochester. That horrific crime caught on camera. A lot is happening this Friday, but we begin with the murder of a transgender man whom police say was tortured and then found dead in a field. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Malloy.
I'm Karen Edwards. Authorities calling it one of the worst cases they have ever seen, and they are still seeking any information they can from the public. Beyond depraved, that's what investigators are calling the murder of Sam Nordquist. 5 suspects charged with murder, hate crime charges are pending.
Police say Nordquist came here from Minnesota and endured unthinkable torture before his body was dumped in a field in the Finger Lakes. 13 Web's Christian Garzone bring us the latest on this story tonight. Christian.
Good evening. Police told us Sam Nordquist was subjected to physical and mental torture before he died. Sam's body found in an empty field. A warning, some of the details in this case might be disturbing. Captain Kelly Swift with New York State Police saying Thursday they executed a search warrant in room 22 of Patty's Lodge on routes 5 and 20 in the town of Hopewell in relation to the disappearance of Sam Nordquist.
Our investigation has revealed a deeply disturbing pattern of abuse that ultimately resulted in Sam's tragic death.
Ontario County's district attorney saying no person should have ever had to go through what Sam dealt with.
The facts and the circumstances of this crime are beyond depraved. This is by far the worst homicide investigation that our office has ever been a part of.
The felony complaints allege that 5 suspects, Precious Arzuaga, Emily Motaika, Patrick Goodwin, Kyle Sage, and Jennifer Cajano tortured Sam, sexually assaulting him with a table leg and broomsticks, and beating Sam with sticks, dog toys, ropes, and belts until Sam died. His remains were found in a field in the town of Benton in Yates County. A Farmington woman who helped with search efforts to find Sam says his family is now on the way from Minnesota. She said Sam's family is heartbroken and the details of this case are sickening.
And Sam's a human being, a beautiful one, and it's just unfortunate that people are that disgusting and that ugly.
Police are asking for patience as they work through this case, and more details are yet to come.
To echo what everyone has said, I hold and I hope we all hold up Sam's family, his friends, his community in our thoughts and prayers.
The DA said all suspects are all facing second-degree murder, depraved indifference charges. Each could face 15 to 20 years in prison if convicted. The suspects were from Geneva, Hopewell, and Rochester. There could also be hate crime charges pending. The DA says he expects grand jury action quickly. Back to you.
The Ontario County District Attorney is calling it by far the worst homicide his office has ever investigated.
Sam Nordquist's mom told me tonight her son had come here from Minnesota in the name of love. What he found instead, as you just heard, was evil. The 3 stood in the cold night next to the car they drove from Minnesota right to the state police barracks in Canandaigua, standing there alone, clutching each other and crying. A mother with her 2 children now trying to live in a world without her third.
He would give you the shirt off his back, very kind, loved his family, loved his nieces and nephew, very outgoing, worked hard.
Linda Nordquist says she told her son not to travel here for a girl, but he did anyway. That was back in September.
The last time I talked to Sam was January 1st. And Sam said, it was real short, said, I love you, I'll call you tomorrow, and I have not talked to Sam's sons. It's heartbreaking. I'm devastated. I have cried so much. My children's cried so much. This is Sam's brother and sister, and they're just devastated. We are a small but yet very close family.
At a news conference today, police say Sam was reported missing on February 9th. Days later, his body was found in a field in Yates County, with police saying Sam had been staying at the Patty Lodge Motel in Hopewell, room 22. Police say because of the ongoing investigation, they can't get into the details, but add what happened in that room shook veteran law men and women to the core.
From early December 2024 to February 2025, Sam was subjected to repeated acts of violence and torture in a manner that ultimately led to his death.
They arrested and charged 5 people with murder in the second degree: 33-year-old Kyle Sage, 30-year-old Patrick Goodwin, 19-year-old Emily Motika, 30-year-old Jennifer Quijano, and 38-year-old Precious Arzuaga, the woman Linda says her son came here for.
They can rot. They are scum. They are evil. I don't know how somebody could be that evil.
Evil to someone as sweet as Sam, who Linda says was transgender, which makes her wonder about the motive for all of this.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but it's some type of hate crime.
Which leaves Linda filled with anger and grief, but mainly in shock.
It's going to take some time. We just got to be there together as a family. Be strong for one another. I don't know. I'm lost for words.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't know how to feel. It hasn't really hit me quite yet.
Until it does, Linda will use the small things like the stuffed animals on her dash she and Sam collected in their travels to remind her of the good that came before the evil. All 5 defendants have been arraigned, and we could see more charges. We could also see more arrests here. And asked if this was a hate crime, the DA said he has not ruled that out.
Ralph Yarl was just 16 years old about 2 years ago when he went to a Kansas City home to pick up his twin brothers. After ringing the bell, gunfire suddenly erupted from inside. The teenager, who happened to be black, was struck in the head and arm and survived. As it turned out, Yarl was on the wrong street at the wrong home. And today in a Kansas City courtroom, the homeowner who shot him, Andrew Lester, now 86 years old, pleaded guilty to second-degree assault. Joining us now is Ralph's mother, Cleo Nagby, and Ralph's aunt, Faith Spoonmore. Thank you both so much for your time and joining us. First and foremost, let's start with how Ralph is doing these days and what he's up to.
Ralph's doing well. He's in college, second semester, and he's enjoying it. So outside of every now and then thinking about Kansas City and what it has to hold for him, he's doing okay.
All right, glad to hear that. And Andrew Lester's initial defense was that he was terrified and thought that Ralph was trying to break in. Of course, we know he was not. How much do you believe that race was a factor?
I strongly believe that race is a huge factor, and it's pretty sad that up to now the prosecutors still have not admitted that or even taken that into consideration, and he continues to go on with the narrative of no, it was not the case. Because if you were to flip the script and you make that person an older black man and a white kid, or even a white man and a white kid, the situation probably would not have even happened for simply ringing a doorbell. They probably would have given that kid the benefit of the doubt, you know? But because we have this stereotype of thinking that black kids are dangerous, that probably played a huge role in what happened to Ralph.
And Mr. Lester pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of second-degree assault instead of first-degree and a charge of armed criminal action. Are you at peace with the plea deal?
We are not fully appeased with it, but it's something that we have to take right now because we are sick of this dragging on to where it has dragged on to. Mr. Lester knew that he was guilty about 2 years ago. We knew Mr. Lester was guilty. The courts and the public knew Mr. Lester was guilty. But we let Mr. Lester run the show. We let him do what he wanted to do and waited 2 years after for him to show up and say, oh, I'm going to plead guilty to the lesser of the charges. So we're sick of this. So let's just move on and give this kid a chance to move on with his life and live on as a regular kid.
I'm curious, has Mr. Lester ever reached out to you, perhaps to apologize?
Oh, he was defending himself. Why would he apologize?
So he never reached out?
No, he hasn't.
Would that make a difference?
Let me say something, Leah. I really doubt that this individual has any sympathy or anything about what he did. No, I don't think so. I think right now, the reason why this is happening is because he's hoping that the judge is going to see the current show that's being put on by him showing up in a wheelchair and go for the lesser time or less of consequences for his actions. I don't think this man feels sorry for what he did, because if you did, you would not have dragged it on this long.
Would an apology make a difference at this point?
No. Not for me.
How about for you, Mom?
No.
Okay. We know that he could be sentenced anywhere from 1 to 7 years in prison. Do you think it should be longer than that? If he got 1 year, how would you feel?
I will feel like it's a slap on the wrist, because we have always said that this is not just about Ralph, okay? So if he gets 1 year in prison, it's going to set a precedent out there that any old white dude could shoot a black kid and I would just get 1 year or less. So what's the point? Let me just shoot him.
How does Ralph feel about all this?
Oh, it took Ralph a long time to decide, should we agree to a plea deal or should we really go to trial? He had to consider what a trial will have on him being in school and consider what it would take if the jury was hung and all of that stuff for him to say, okay, let's just agree to this plea deal. It took him a long time to say, I'll agree to this.
Ms. Nagbe, Ms. Spoonmore, we thank you so much for your time. Appreciate your thoughts and hearing from you. And we're wishing the best for Ralph and your entire family. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's been nearly a week since two beloved educators from Metro Atlanta disappeared on that lake. The Putnam County Sheriff says that Gary Jones and his fiancee, Spelman instructor Joycelyn Wilson, were last seen on the lake on Saturday. Well, Wilson's body has since been recovered, but Jones, a teacher at Westminster School, is still missing.
11 Alive's Erica Murphy is joining us live from Georgia Power Long Shoals boat ramp tonight. Erica, what are you learning about the latest in this search?
Jonathan, today, right now, there are about 20 people out here comprised of volunteers and law enforcement. Now, this search party is made up of volunteers, boaters, and a cadaver dog, all looking to bring Gary home. The missing boaters were Joycelyn Wilson and her fiance, Gary Jones. Wilson and Jones disappeared over the weekend. Now, some boaters saw their boat circling around with no one in it and called DNR. By the time DNR got here, the boat had stopped at a dock and the engine had stopped. Jones's body was found earlier this week, but Wilson's body was found earlier this week, but Jones still has not been found. Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills tells me he hasn't seen so many resources devoted to a water search in nearly 40 years.
This is a wide area of Lake Oconee, and this is also the center channel. It's about 80 foot deep out there in the middle of it. There's standing timber on one side of the channel on the Greene County side. Her body was over near that area, not far off the channel itself. The boat's way over here, a couple of thousand yards, away. And then the next day, his shoes were located floating in the water. There have been reports that his shoes were found on the ground. That is not true.
Now, Sheriff Sills also tells me that one of the unique things that's happening today is that a cadaver dog is out here. You may remember that earlier this week I spoke with a search and rescue expert who explained that a cadaver dog is a specially trained canine who can detect bodies on the water. Also, Sheriff Sills shared with me that this water, when you get 3 feet down in it, you can't see your hand in front of your face. Reporting from Lake Oconee, Erica Murphy, 11 Alive News.
All right, Erica, thanks so much. And we will continue to bring the newest developments regarding the search. To read more of our coverage so far, head over to 11alive.com. We have the story for you right now on our homepage.
Well, tonight the search for one of two educators continues after they disappeared while boating on Lake Oconee. Now, authorities searched and started searching for Gary Jones and his fiancee Jocelyn Wilson last Saturday. Wilson's body was found Sunday, but Jones is still missing. 11 Alive's Erica Murphy has more on where things stand tonight.
It's been a full week since Westminster coach and instructor Gary Jones and his fiancee Jocelyn Wilson disappeared while boating on Lake Oconee. Wilson's body was recovered from the water on Sunday, but so far only Jones' shoes have been found. Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills says the search is complicated.
It's a vast area, and if you don't know exactly where a body went down, it's almost impossible to find it.
Sheriff Sills tells me that despite all of the efforts that they're making to recover Mr. Jones' body, finding him is really going to be more so dependent on nature.
He said that old river there, she gonna give that body up when she want to. And there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Kathy Tompkins with Central Georgia Canine Search and Rescue is on site helping with her water cadaver dog.
As the body decomposes, it'll produce gases that come to the surface, and he can detect that odor.
Sheriff Sills says his office does plan to search again on Sunday, but only if the weather permits. Reporting from Lake Oconee in Putnam County, Erica Murphy, 11 Alive News.
Some more details here. Sheriff Sills says when the boat carrying Jones and Wilson was found, there were 2 flotation devices on it. We do continue to check in with officials and we'll bring you the latest updates as the story develops.
A plane headed to Palatka crashed in Flagler County, causing an hours-long search in the dark last night. Next to me is what deputies found in the Flagler County woods near Volusia County. We have team coverage tonight. Our Zach Wilcox spoke with the Palatka Skydiving Center that the plane was heading to. He'll have a live report in just a few minutes, but first, Jasmine Monroe is on your side with what we know right now about this plane crash.
Well, we got a chance to hear from the Sheriff's Department, and as you can see, it started at the Sebastian Airport, made its way through the Titusville area, then into Deltona. But this is when we start to notice something a little different from that path. That is when the plane takes a turn into that heavily wooded area.
It was about the worst conditions you could imagine to try to find an aircraft.
It was around 8 p.m. when the 2012 Cessna aircraft vanished from radar. Its last known location somewhere over Flagler County.
Okay, the group of 3 walked to the north a little bit by about 10 feet.
The small plane often used for parachute jumps, leased from Eagle Air Transport, had dropped off the radar around 900 feet. When attempts to contact the pilot failed, search efforts ramped up.
It was pitch dark last night. There was no moon, a lot of cloud coverage.
Just after midnight, search teams discovered the wreckage in a dense wooded area. The plane had impacted straight down, making it nearly unrecognizable. Searchers say they smelled fuel and spotted a tire before locating the debris field.
Deputies went there, and basically this plane is unrecognizable from the impact into the ground.
Only the pilot, a male, was on board the 10-seater aircraft. Authorities say it's unlikely anyone could have survived the crash.
I would describe this as a recovery mission at this point, and it's going to take some time to do that.
Officials say small planes like this don't have black boxes, so investigators will rely on radar data and other evidence.
Well, you know, when a private plane, if you will, goes down, usually one of the first things that you look at is fuel. But we know, and I was back there a little while ago, there was plenty of fuel on board based on the smell.
Recovery efforts are still underway as the FAA and the NTSB work to determine what caused this crash.
We had been given a phone number for who we believe was the pilot and had no contact there either.
We did get a chance to speak to the Sheriff's Department, and they tell us this is still a recovery effort. It is now in the hands of the FAA and the NTSB. For First Coast News on your side, I'm Jasmine Monroe.
Jasmine, thank you. Eagle Air Transport, which is based in Illinois, confirmed the aircraft belongs to them. The president of the company released a statement saying that they are aware of last night's crash. As of now, they have very little information, but are working with authorities on the investigation. Zach Wilcox continues our live team coverage at the Palatka Municipal Airport. Zach, you spoke with Skydive Palatka. How is the staff reacting after the crash?
Well, Rich, I could tell that they were fighting back tears as they came out to greet me today. They did decide to close today, not put any of their flights up in light of what happened, the tragedy. So they were here, though, to welcome a group of Canadian military members who are going to be working on some certifications over the course of the next week with them. So they were able to give me a quick update on what happened, and I heard from an instructor that they were in fact getting the plane last night. They were hoping to put it up today with a fairly large group of skydivers. The planes that they typically use can only put about 4 people in the air at a time. This plane would have been able to put 12 in the air at a time, and they had such a large group today that that's what they were planning on using it for. And they couldn't go into a ton of specifics about the pilot, other than that he had 50 years of experience, and they also pointed out that the cause of the crash is still under investigation. But the manager here did have a message for anyone who maybe skydiving's on their bucket list, and now they're, hearing about all this.
The sport has progressed a lot in the last several years. There's a lot of safety measures in place with both gear as well as aircraft and pilots experience that's required in order for us to fly, so this doesn't happen frequently.
And Skydive Palatka has one of their biggest events of the year coming up at the end of March, where they're going to have an event dedicated to veterans with PTSD. So they're hoping that's an opportunity to bring a lot of people together, have a lot of people skydiving, and maybe start to move past this tragedy. At the Palatka Municipal Airport, Zach Wilcox, First Coast News, on your side.
New video shows a humpback whale swallowing a kayaker whole. Moments later, that kayaker spit right out and is alive to tell the story. George Solis joins us tonight from the Telemundo Center in Miami. So, George, walk us through what we're seeing in this video, if you can go kind of moment by moment. And we even heard from the kayaker tonight as well, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Check out, look, this is the jaw-dropping moment that was caught on video. You can see as the whale briefly submerges the kayaker in the water south of Chile there, his father capturing those heart-pounding moments in the video that has now gone viral. You can actually hear him telling his son, come here, and stay calm and grab the boat. Now, this tale of biblical proportions unfolding on February 8th, according to Adrian Simancas, the man seen there in the video, oblivious to the apparent threat around him as they floated there in the waves. You can see the whale there in the water. Now, without warning, the yellow kayak briefly vanishes and then reappears. The 24-year-old recalling those harrowing moments, saying he thought, look, I've been eaten. He thought he could feel something approaching him, engulfing him, believing he had lost his life, saying in that first second that he was submerged, he's like, I thought I already lost my life. But amazingly, he was unharmed. His father making his way over to his son, keeping calm and asking him to hold on to his rope, continuing to reassure his son that he is safe. They both keeping cool and calm under pressure now with this whale of a tale to share for all time. Tom?
Yeah, modern-day Jonah and the whale story. George, we thank you for bringing us that. That video is incredible. And we thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
At least 48 people have been killed following a landslide at a gold mine in Mali, and this comes just a month after 10 people were killed in a similar gold mine located in the country's southern region. Now, the landslide occurred at an illegally operated gold mine in western Mali on Saturday, and according to authorities, several victims, including a woman and a child, fell into the water. They also add that a search operation is currently underway. Reports suggest that the abandoned gold mine was previously operated by a Chinese company. In the recent past, Mali authorities have struggled to control unregulated gold mine in the country, and last year more than 70 people were killed after a tunnel collapsed at a gold mine in the same region.
This harrowing dash cam video captures the moment as mud rushes onto the Pacific Coast Highway, the driver just narrowly escaping. This is the aftermath of heavy rains that saturated Southern California, caused by an atmospheric river. The storm resulted in flash flooding and mudslides in areas around Los Angeles, including Malibu and Pasadena, which are still recovering from last month's wildfires that killed 29 people and left tens of thousands of residents without a home.
It's just unbelievable. Just so much devastation, and now we have the mudslides on top of that. So it's just surprising.
Some of Southern California's slopes recorded up to 150 millimeters of rain Thursday. This time-lapse video from UC San Diego shows the buildup of mud and debris following the heavy rainfall in Sierra Madre, an area just east of LA. Now, cleanup efforts are underway as residents who thought they were prepared grapple with the reality they now face.
Thought we knew what to expect. We put the mud fence up. We tried to be prepared, but this was just way too much.
Officials say preparing ahead of time prevented a bad situation from becoming even worse for the residents here.
We were able to take out 2,500 truckloads of debris in advance of this storm in order to prepare. Had we not done that, the damage would have been dramatically more significant.
Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Breaking news this morning, another earthquake shaking Malibu, an area hit hard by fire and then storms earlier in the week. A 3.5 magnitude earthquake struck at 6:30 this morning. It was the second quake in about 7 hours after a separate 3.7 magnitude earthquake late last night.
Eyewitness News reporter Monica de Anda live at Malibu with more on the quakes and how the community is coping with all of these natural disasters. Monica.
Yeah, Mark, Irene, good morning. It seems like these communities just can't catch a break, right? We got that first earthquake around 11:40 last night, and then right this morning while we were actually here in Malibu, a second earthquake. That one hit around 6:30. It may have woken you up. Maybe you thought, oh, is this actually an earthquake? And it was. Not only did it rattle Malibu, it also rattled parts of Inglewood, West Los Angeles, even in the parts of Santa Paula. If you were out there, you may have felt this earthquake. We got plenty of calls into our newsroom. That was a 3.5. So if you take a look at our quake cam, that really shows you the moment that these earthquakes were first detected. The one that happened just before midnight Friday, that was a 3.7, so a little stronger. That one also rattling the Malibu community that has already been through so much. The shaking was felt from Oxnard down to San Clemente, up to Santa Clarita, and even in Corona. Now, good news, there have been no reports of any damage or injuries, but this is just another blow for Palisades fire victims. Yesterday, this community was in cleanup mode after heavy rain left behind a muddy mess. Thick mud and debris covering parts of PCH, and in other areas, the rain caused burned branches and even trash cans to be pushed onto the roads. Neighbors, they've been trying to regain their sense of community here and are doing their best to stay positive, but admit it's been tough dealing with one thing after the other.
All things considered, everybody's safe, everybody's alive. I don't think any structures were hurt, so we're lucky.
Until the next one.
Oh, well, it's starting to feel that way. It really is. This month has been unbelievable.
Somebody told us it's been a long year already.
I had such high hopes. We're not starting very well.
Now, we can tell you that emergency personnel has done checks following these earthquakes, and so far, again, no reports of damage, so that is good news after we had the 3.7 last night and then the 3.5 just at 6:30, so 2 hours ago. If you take a look here behind me, this is Dukes, and you can see about 15 minutes ago, all of these crews began to arrive. We have CAL FIRE here on the scene. Some of their workers are already at it, right? There is so much mud, and they have made progress, but there is much more to go. There's a tractor here moving some of the mud around, and you can see it's just rippling the water here, and that goes to show how much rain this area got, how much mud it got. And then not only that, but just about 10 minutes ago, we have a cleaning crew that's arrived as well. There's about 24 of them who are getting ready to make the next step here at Dukes to try and help. So not only was this business saved, but then they dealt with the rain that left this muddy mess everywhere, and now the earthquakes this morning. So lots going on for this community that's already been through so much this year. Reporting live in Malibu, Monica de Anda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, unfortunately, just going to take even longer for that location to reopen. The mud may not seem like much, but when you start piling it all up, you realize the total amount that's come down. Monica, that being said, before we let you go, regarding that earthquake situation, you're there in Malibu. I know everybody feels things differently. Did you and your crew happen to feel it?
So we actually did not, and we were thinking about it, and it may have been because if you were watching with us at 6:30, we were moving. So when we're trying to move through the mud, it's a little shaky, right? So maybe we missed it, but we know that other people felt it here in this area as well because we got those calls into the newsroom. So everyone a little different, but if you think you felt it, you probably did.
Yeah, not crazy.
Oh, I know. Good to know. But man, you really do feel for people in the Malibu area with everything that they've been dealing with in the past few weeks. Monica, thank you for the latest out there. And while these quakes were small, it is always good to get a reminder on what to do after a larger earthquake. These are tips from the state's Seismic Safety Commission. Inspect your home for damage. Get everyone out if it's unsafe. Help neighbors who may require special assistance. Watch out for fallen power lines or broken gas lines. Stay out of damaged areas and expect aftershocks.
And when an earthquake hits, if it is safe to do so, send us your earthquake photos or videos. A lot of times it's those home security videos like the Ring cameras that capture great images. Just scan the QR code on your screen, or you can download those images and the videos at abc7.com/eyewitness.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel, and download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.
We do interrupt our regular scheduled programming to bring you breaking news tonight. An earthquake was felt throughout the El Paso region just after 10 p.m. tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Oriana Botaro.
I'm Andy Morgan, and according to the U.S. Geological Survey, a 4.9 magnitude earthquake was registered about 30 miles north of Toya, Texas. That's in Reeves County. Reeves County is about 200 miles east of El Paso. Additionally, you had a 2.6 magnitude earthquake that was registered again in Toya 5 minutes after that original tremor.
Let's go ahead and bring in our chief meteorologist, Robert Bettis, now. Robert.
Yeah, Robert, what can you tell us about the earthquake that we felt in El Paso surrounding areas? I know we were actually on the air when it happened. We saw some of the monitors kind of shaking. We weren't exactly sure what it was, but I know these aren't necessarily all that uncommon when it comes to this region in West Texas.
No, not uncommon at all. Of course, it is weird. We're ready for sports, and Kelly's standing there, and our big monitors start shaking back and forth. We thought, is the door open? What is going on? And of course, next, all the emails from people wondering what is going on. Is there an earthquake? Yes, there was. At about 10:23, as mentioned, a 4.9 magnitude quake. That's in the heart of Reeves County. Toya is approximately 166 miles to the east of El Paso. So for the idea of a 4.9 quake, which is not that powerful, to send out an aftershock that we're feeling 166 miles away gives you an indicator of what a 7 or an 8 magnitude quake might do. Very damaging. I've looked at the Geological Survey of the United States, and we generally have an earthquake in West Texas about every 3 days. Small in variety, but definitely it's an active region, so nothing to really worry too much about. Oriana, Andy?
All right, Robert, thank you so much. And these are just some of the comments that we have been receiving from viewers at home tonight. So we have Ruben Morales over here saying that my wife and I felt our whole house shake. We were in 2 separate rooms, and the couch was shaking, and our bed where she was shaking as well. Some viewers telling us that they even felt the tremor all the way in Alamogordo and in the Las Cruces area. Now, Jimmy Newman on Facebook says, I definitely felt it right here in the west side. My apartment shook a little. And also Geraldine Norris saying she also felt it in Clint. Her house rocked and it was very scary. Again, we are monitoring this situation closely, and as of right now, no power outages have been reported by El Paso Electric.
Yeah, certainly the good news there. And for the latest information on any updates we might have for you, make sure you stay with us here on air and online at KTSM.com.
The CDC says a measles outbreak in West Texas is getting worse. 48 cases have been reported in the past few weeks, and health officials expect that number to grow. Most of those cases are in Gaines County, and a quarter of them have been hospitalized. Now, to compare, last year there were 284 measles cases across the entire country. All of these recent cases in West Texas were in people who were not vaccinated for measles or had unknown vaccination status. The airborne illness is extremely infectious and causes a potentially severe rash, fever, a runny nose, and a cough. Before the measles vaccine was introduced, the CDC says an estimated 48,000 people were hospitalized and 400 to 500 people died from the measles in the U.S. each year.
Thousands of passengers travelling to the Hindu religious festival, transiting through New Delhi railway station. A sudden surge in passengers triggering a stampede. The death toll from the accident includes at least 3 children and 14 women. She got crushed under that stampede and died, this man said. Who died? Asked the reporter. It was my mother. Another eyewitness claimed it seemed to happen after there was a platform change.
There was a huge stampede, a massive crowd. I've never seen anything like it.
We were a little ahead of the crowd. Had we been 2 or 3 minutes later, we would have been crushed.
Police were quickly on the scene and forced passengers to show their train tickets before entering the station.
2 trains were delayed. It was out of control for 10 or 15 minutes and people got injured.
More than a dozen people were injured and brought to nearby hospitals like this one. On social media, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was distressed by the stampede and would pray for the injured. Dozens of people were killed in a pre-dawn stampede at the Kumbh festival in northern India a few weeks ago. More than 500 million have already taken a dip in sacred rivers there as part of the 44-day festival. Ellie Grounds, ABC News, New Delhi.
Concerns over the health of Pope Francis, the 88-year-old pontiff, spending the night at a hospital in Rome. The Vatican says that he's being treated for bronchitis. ABC's chief international correspondent James Longman joins us now from Vatican City with the very latest. Good morning, James. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good morning, Janae. Pope Francis has spent his first night in the hospital for bronchitis. We're told it was a quiet night, that his fever has actually decreased somewhat. We're told that he was up having breakfast, reading the newspapers, so that's a good sign. But he has been battling this chest infection for more than a week, trying to work his way through it right up until yesterday, in fact, when he met with the Prime Minister of Slovakia. But no, his doctors say his condition worsened, so hospitalization was needed. I think there was some concern because on 2 occasions in the last week, he had to stop whilst giving public readings and catch his breath. Remember, this is an 88-year-old man we're talking about, a man who had part of his lung removed when he was younger, so they're taking every possible precaution. But it does mean that he's had to cancel his appearances this weekend at the celebrations for the Jubilee. 2025 is a Jubilee year in the Catholic Church until at least Monday. But the many thousands who've assembled here in Vatican City are praying for him. This morning, 5,000 pilgrims at St. Peter's Basilica were asked to pray for the Pope. I'm sure millions around the world will be doing the same. Gio?
All right. Thank you so much, James. We appreciate it.
We also spoke a great deal about Gaza. I thank Secretary Rubio for President Trump's assistance in helping us secure the release of another 3 hostages yesterday. These are hostages that Hamas refused to support only a few days to release only a few days earlier. And I also thanked him for America's unequivocal backing for Israel's policy in Gaza in moving forward. I want to assure everyone who's now listening to us, President Trump and I are working in full cooperation and coordination between us. We have a common strategy, and we can't always share the details of this strategy with the public, including when the gates of hell will be opened, as they surely will if all our hostages are not released until the last one of them. Israel is determined to achieve all the war objectives we set after the horrific attack on October 7th, the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. We will eliminate Hamas's military capability and its political rule in Gaza. We will bring all our hostages home, and we will ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. The unequivocal support of the United States on Gaza will help us achieve these objectives faster and set us on a path for a different future. Secretary Rubio and I discussed President Trump's bold vision for Gaza, for Gaza's future, how we can work together to ensure that that future becomes a reality.
I mean, what?
I mean, it tells us more and more about
DOJ tasked itself with government efficiency, but doesn't know the inner workings of government. These are people who are not government employees, have never served in any level of government before. These are individuals who are slashing and dashing in whatever way that they can. This particular story affects me on a personal level because my cousin received one of those letters. He works there.
And what did it say? How did they phrase it?
Essentially the same way that they did the ones that we heard about 2 weeks ago. It didn't necessarily say exactly when these people would get paid or if they would get paid. It was, today is basically your last day. And to not report back. Extremely short, maybe 3 sentences. And for someone, in my cousin's case, who's worked there for well over a decade, almost 2 decades, actually, 16 years, at this point, it was a very tragic situation.
Wow. Okay, let me ask you this, because we just saw this rather extraordinary press briefing with Elon Musk standing, the president sitting, and he said, you know, I'm going to make mistakes. I might sometimes not say the true thing, but, you know, you guys will tell me that I'm making mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Is this just a big freaking honking mistake that is affecting potentially the nuclear stockpile and the lives of those who have been working there as experts?
I swear. Y'all just really go have these people, these conservatives screaming at me because they're going to say, that's a Republican who disagrees with something that the Trump administration did. Now, when it comes to, my larger problem is the attacks on the federal government worker, as if, for one, they don't pay taxes, and that they're not voters. Like, there's this characterization of federal government workers as lazy. So all of this is kind of built into that. And so this very indiscriminate number, these people exist at these agencies for a reason. What I would like for the Trump administration to do, even in explaining, you know, this whole transparency argument, is to do an assessment of what it is that you need. I am very skeptical that they've been able to do an assessment to see what they need at these agencies before just, as we get 300 here, there's another 400 here, because there is an impact to that. And so what I want to hear from the Trump administration is, we've covered all our bases, and it seems here, at least with this particular story, that they didn't. Oh, yeah, just make this.
Well, as the other Republican, I'll do you a solid and stand with you on this one, okay?
There we go.
But it is the risk of the burn it all down approach, and it's the risk of using ignorance as a tool to burn it all down. There's certainly pressure from those who voted for this, who want things to happen fast. And so DOJ, the Trump administration, is moving quickly, but it comes at the expense of making mistakes. I will say this, though. We also saw that this is kind of like, you know, zero-based budgeting in a way, right? Where you have to justify some of these agencies and their responsibilities. Members of Congress, nothing is a sacred cow. Members of Congress made calls, they complained, they made the case, voila, it was fixed, and they reversed it. Maybe we'll see that happen with some other agencies. Maybe we won't. Thankfully, it happened for this one.
But this particular one's tool and utility is actually in the name. So it doesn't even take that much for them to kind of figure out what they do. I think that in the whole burn it all down approach, they're recognizing that people on the ground have a lot of distrust and disinterest in government, and quite frankly are upset with systems in general. So they're using that to fuel the fire, to eradicate things that put America at risk. And when we talk about things like this, we're talking America's national security. For the Republican Party, which is run on the safety and protection of the United States and being a leader of the world when it comes to our military, to ensure that they are hurting people in this process where we know what our adversaries are doing. We know that they want to attack America's greatest weakness, and many of them cheered it on when President Trump got elected because they recognized his folks don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're exactly right. And look, Democrats, there are a lot of Democrats in Congress who are willing to give the Trump administration a chance when they said, we want to go in, we want to create more government efficiency, we want to do a complete audit. But you don't do that within the first 3 weeks of the administration when you don't, first of all, you have people who have never worked in government, who have no fundamental understanding of how the process works, number one. And number two, these are the stories that we have to tell. If we are going out to talking to Americans, talking to voters and saying, this is why you have to do it the right way, we have to tell the stories about how this is going to hurt the safety of Americans, how this could impact, farmers with some of the USAID cuts. We actually have to put these in layman's terms so that people can actually understand that, yeah, sure, everyone wants government to work more efficiently. Everyone wants their taxpayer dollars to be stretched to the furthest. But when it starts to hurt you and your neighbors and your families, those are the stories that we have to tell.
Everybody's right.
Oh, there's a hot take.
I'll tell you, there's another thing here that really bothers me, Sarah, and this is a type of hypocrisy that I've seen for a while now. There's always been, you know, this kind of hyperventilating, rightly so I should add, over protecting middle-class workers and the working class and that sort of thing, unless they work for the government. Then they don't count. Then they're not real Americans all of a sudden. Then their jobs are disposable. You can cut them off immediately. That is a different type of elitism that has now crept into, you know, the right, where there's an elitism against working class people who have civil service jobs. When I was growing up, for black people, people of color, civil service jobs is one of your only ways to get into the middle class. You were told, my father was told to be a janitor when he was in school, and he was brilliant. He actually went back to school, became a doctor, but he was a probation officer for years. And that wasn't necessarily your ceiling, but man, was it a way for people to, you know, have middle-class lives, send their kids to school, all these types of things.
Generation.
Yeah, yes, but those jobs are important. They're jobs, and also people feel good about working civil service jobs many of the times. Many times they get really good benefits from doing those jobs that you can't get in the private sector. To have it wiped away, and it's, to me, it seems like they're just laughing about it, the way that I think Musk is too flippant about the way that he does it. Thoughtful consideration about cutting these things, nobody can complain with. Of course, there's fraud and waste in government. We all want that to go away. But you have to be more thoughtful about it because these are people's lives.